Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 months through deep space, farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent 15 years in space, but today felt different. Today they might meet aliens for the first time in human history. "Captain, we're picking up something strange on the sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with dark hair who spoke 5 Earth languages. "It's a ship, sir, but it's not like anything we've ever seen." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The image showed a massive vessel, at least 3 times bigger than the New Horizon. It had a dark metal hull with sharp edges and red lights along its sides. The ship looked like it was built for war, not exploration. "Have they seen us?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir, they're sending a signal. It's not in any human language, but our computers are trying to translate it." Dr. Kevin Walsh hurried onto the bridge. He was the ship's science officer, a thin man with glasses, who studied alien life. For years he had wondered what other intelligent species might exist in the galaxy. Now he was about to find out. "What do we know about them?" Jake asked Kevin. "The ship design suggests a military culture," Kevin said, studying the data. "They use energy weapons and have very strong shields. Their technology is more advanced than ours, but not by centuries, maybe 50 to 100 years ahead." Amy looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm getting a translation. They want to talk." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The viewing screen changed to show the interior of the alien ship. A large creature appeared, standing at least 8 feet tall. It had green, scaly skin like a reptile, with natural armor plates covering its chest and arms. Its eyes were yellow with black slits, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. "I am War Commander Thekvar of the Zelthani Empire," the alien said. The computer translated his words with a mechanical voice. "You will identify yourselves immediately." Jake stepped forward. He wore his best uniform and tried to look calm and friendly. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship New Horizon. We come in peace representing the people of Earth. We're honored to make first contact with your species." Thekvar's yellow eyes narrowed. "Humans. We have never heard of your kind. You are weak-looking creatures. Are all your people so small and soft?" Ambassador Lisa Grant entered the bridge at that moment. She was a skilled diplomat with gray hair and kind eyes, chosen for this mission because she could stay calm in difficult situations. She had spent years preparing for this day, learning how to speak with alien cultures. "War Commander," Lisa said with a polite smile, "we are indeed different from your people, but humans have survived and grown strong on our world. We would like to learn about your empire and share knowledge that might benefit both our species." Thekvar made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded more like a growl. Behind him, other Zelthani warriors moved around their bridge. They all looked strong and dangerous, with weapons attached to their belts. "Share knowledge," Thekvar repeated. "How amusing. The Zelthani Empire does not share. We rule. For 1,000 years, we have brought order to this part of the galaxy. 43 species now serve under our banner. Soon you will be the 44th. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "We're not looking for conflict, War Commander. Earth has much to offer in trade and cooperation. Our scientists have made many discoveries that could be valuable to your people." "You misunderstand, human," Thekvar said, his voice growing colder. "This is not a negotiation. This is an announcement. Your species will submit to Zelthani rule or you will be destroyed. It is that simple." Dr. Kevin Walsh stepped closer to Jake and whispered, "Captain, their ship has enough firepower to destroy a small moon, but I'm reading something interesting in their behavior patterns. They're treating us like they've treated every other species they've conquered. They think we're weak because we came here talking about peace." Lisa tried again. "War Commander, surely a great empire like yours would benefit more from willing allies than unwilling slaves. Humans are creative and adaptable. We could contribute much to your civilization." Thekvar's head tilted to one side. like a predator studying prey. You speak of contribution. What could soft mammals like you possibly offer the mighty Zelthani? You have no natural armor, no claws or fangs. Your ship is small and carries no weapons of war. Your people sent you here with words of peace, like frightened children hoping to avoid punishment. We choose peace because we believe it's better than war, Jake said firmly. That doesn't make us weak. No? Tekvar leaned forward. Tell me, human captain, how many wars has your species fought? How many worlds have you conquered? How many enemies have you crushed under your feet? Jake was quiet for a moment. Earth's history was full of wars, but he didn't want to sound threatening. We've had conflicts on our world, yes, but we've learned that cooperation builds stronger civilizations than conquest. This time Tekvar definitely laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. You have fought only yourselves on one small world, children playing with toys. The galaxy is not a place for the weak, human. It belongs to the strong, and we are the strongest. Amy's hands moved quickly over her controls. She was recording everything, knowing that Earth would need to see this conversation. The data would be important for whatever came next. You have one standard galactic cycle to prepare your surrender, Tekvar continued. That is approximately one of your Earth years. Send representatives to the planet Zelthros in the Kepler sector. They will formally submit to Zelthani rule and arrange for your planet's integration into our empire. And if we refuse, Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer, then we will come to your Earth with a war fleet that will darken your skies. Your cities will burn, your people will serve, and your resistance will become a lesson for other species who think they can defy us. This is how it has always been. This is how it will always be. The screen went black as the Zelthani ship cut communication. A few moments later, the massive vessel turned and jumped into hyperspace, leaving the New Horizon alone among the stars. Jake looked around his bridge. Amy was still recording data. Kevin was studying the sensor readings from the alien ship. Lisa stood quietly, thinking about what had just happened. Captain, Kevin said slowly, they made a big mistake. They looked at us and saw weakness because we came here in peace. They don't understand humans at all. They think diplomacy means fear and cooperation means surrender. What do you mean? Jake asked. They've conquered 43 species, but I'll bet none of those species were like us. Most intelligent life probably evolved as prey animals, or at least as creatures that avoid conflict. But humans? We're from Earth. We're the species that hunted woolly mammoths with pointed sticks. We survived ice ages and plagues and disasters that would have wiped out most life forms. We didn't get to the top of our food chain by being weak. Lisa nodded grimly. They saw our politeness and mistook it for inability to fight. That's going to be their first mistake. Probably not their last. Jake turned to Amy. Send all this data back to Earth immediately. Mark it highest priority. Admiral Stone and President Davis need to see this. Yes, sir. Message sent. Jake looked back at the stars where the Zelthani ship had disappeared. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We have a year to get ready, and I have a feeling we're going to need every day of it. As the New Horizon turned toward home, none of them spoke about what they were all thinking. The galaxy was about to learn something that humans had always known but rarely needed to prove. Sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that tries to avoid the fight. 6 months had passed since the New Horizon returned to Earth with news of the Zelthani Empire. The world had changed in ways that most people could not see. On the surface, life continued normally. People went to work, children went to school, and the news talked about sports and politics. But in secret government facilities around the globe, humanity was preparing for war. Admiral Patricia Stone sat in her office deep beneath the Pentagon, looking at reports that would have terrified most people. She was a woman in her 50s, with short silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. For 30 years she had served in Earth Space Forces, but never had she faced a challenge like this. The Zelthani weren't lying about their power, said General Tony Martinez sitting across from her desk. Tony was a big man with dark skin and the kind of calm voice that made soldiers trust him. Our intelligence teams have been studying their ship data for months. They really could destroy our entire fleet if we fight them the old way. Patricia nodded. Then we won't fight them the old way. What's the status on Project Hammer? Dr. Sandra Kim's team has made breakthrough after breakthrough. Turns out that Zelthani technology isn't as advanced as they think it is. It's just different. They focused on brute force while we learned to be clever. On the other side of the world, Dr. Sandra Kim worked in a laboratory that did not officially exist. She was a small woman with black hair who had spent her life studying physics and engineering. Now she was using that knowledge to build weapons that could save her species. The Zelthani shields are powerful, but they work in a predictable pattern, she explained to her team of scientists. They expect enemies to attack with raw energy, so their defenses are built for that. But what if we don't attack their shields directly? What if we go around them? Her assistant, Dr. Peter Chen, looked up from his computer. The resonance frequency approach is working. We can make their own shield energy turn against them. It would be like using their strength to break their own armor. Exactly. And their weapons are designed to fight other species that rely on heavy armor and big guns. They've never faced anyone who fights smart instead of hard. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital shipyards, Chief Engineer Ben Clark was overseeing the construction of a new type of warship. Ben was an older man with gray hair and hands that were always dirty from working on engines. He had built ships for 20 years, but these new vessels were unlike anything humanity had ever created. We're not trying to build ships that are bigger than theirs, he explained to his workers. We're building ships that are faster, smarter, and harder to hit. 100 small ships that work together can beat one big ship that fights alone. The workers around him were installing new weapon systems, advanced computers, and armor that could change its shape to deflect enemy fire. These ships looked sleek and dangerous, like sharks built for hunting in the darkness of space. Captain Jake Morrison was no longer flying exploration missions. His ship, now called the Terra's Wrath, had been upgraded with the latest technology. Jake spent his days training with other ship captains, learning new ways to fight an enemy that thought they were weak. The key is surprise, said Colonel Pete Williams during one of their strategy meetings. Pete was a thin man with sharp eyes who had studied every war in human history. The Zelthani have conquered 43 species, but they always use the same tactics. They show up with overwhelming force and expect their enemies to surrender or die fighting predictably. Captain Ryan Brooks, commander of the Defiant Star, raised his hand. What makes us different? Humans don't fight predictably, Pete explained. When we're outgunned, we get creative. When we're outnumbered, we work together. And when someone threatens our home, we become very, very dangerous. While the military prepared for war, Earth's diplomats were still trying to find a peaceful solution. Ambassador Lisa Grant had been traveling to different alien worlds, meeting with species that had heard about the Zelthani ultimatum. She was looking for allies, but mostly she was learning about her enemy. On the planet Karathi, she met with Elder Zenth, an ancient alien who looked like a giant insect with wise old eyes. The Karathi had been watching galactic politics for thousands of years. The Zelthani are strong, but they are not smart about strength, Elder Zenth told her through a translator. They believe that fear is the only tool of control. They have never fought a species that becomes more dangerous when afraid for their families. Have any species ever defeated them? Lisa asked. None have tried. Until now, every species they conquered was alone and unprepared. You humans are different. You came to them with peace, but you were already studying them like hunters study prey. The Zelthani do not understand this. Lisa also visited the Vex Collective, a group of aliens that shared a single mind across millions of bodies. They communicated by changing colors on their skin, and their thoughts moved faster than any individual brain could follow. The probability of human victory was 12% when we first calculated, the Vex spokesperson told her. Now it is 34% and rising. The Zelthani advantage in technology is decreasing. The human advantage in adaptability is increasing. This war will not end as the Zelthani expect. Back on Earth, President Helen Davis met with her advisors in the White House Situation Room. Helen was a strong woman who had led the country through difficult times before, But nothing like this. She had to make decisions that would affect the entire human race. "How much does the public know?" she asked. "Very little," answered her chief of staff. "We've told them about first contact, but not about the ultimatum. We're calling it ongoing. Diplomatic negotiations in the news. Good, if people panic, it will make everything harder. How much time do we have left?" General Martinez checked his tablet. 4 months until the Zelthani deadline, but our intelligence suggests they might attack sooner if they think we're preparing defenses. Then we need to look weak while getting strong, Helen said. "Can we do that?" Admiral Stone smiled grimly. "We're humans, Madam President. Deception is one of our oldest survival skills." While the leaders planned, ordinary people around the world noticed small changes. Factories were working extra shifts. Young people were joining the military in record numbers. Scientists were being recruited for classified projects. But most citizens believed they were just witnessing economic growth and increased interest. In space exploration, Captain Maria Santos was training her crew aboard the Iron Wolf, another of the new warships. Maria was a tough woman with short brown hair who had served in Earth's Space Navy for 12 years. Her ship was designed for close combat, with weapons that could tear through enemy armor at short range. "The Zelthani think we'll line up our ships and have a traditional space battle," she told her crew. "They expect us to fight like honorable warriors. They don't expect us to fight like humans." Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Dave Parker, grinned. "You mean fighting dirty?" "I mean fighting smart. Humans learned long ago that honor doesn't matter if your family is dead. We'll use every trick, every advantage, and every piece of clever thinking we have." The Zelthani wanted to meet Earth's warriors. They're about to get their wish. Meanwhile, Richard Hayes, one of Earth's best diplomats, was making one final attempt at peace. He had been given permission to contact the Zelthani directly and offer them a deal. Richard was a calm man with white hair who had negotiated treaties between countries that hated each other. His message was simple. Earth offers friendship, trade, and mutual cooperation. We have technologies and knowledge that could benefit your empire. We ask only for respect and independence. War will cost both our peoples greatly. Peace will benefit everyone. The Zelthani response came quickly. War Commander Tekvar appeared, on screen looking even more arrogant than before. "Your year is almost over, humans. We have been watching your pathetic attempts to find allies. No one will help you. No one has ever defeated the Zelthani Empire. Prepare your surrender, or prepare to die." Richard kept his voice steady. "We have prepared, War Commander, but not for surrender." Tekvar laughed. "You think your tiny ships and primitive weapons can stand against our war fleets? You are about to learn why the galaxy fears us." After the communication ended, Richard sent his report back to Earth. The final diplomatic option had failed. Now, it was time for the galaxy to learn something that humans had always known, but never needed to prove on such a scale. Earth had 6 billion years of evolution behind it. Humans were the species that had survived ice ages, volcanic winters, plagues, and countless predators. They had climbed to the top of their world's food chain not by being the biggest or strongest, but by being the smartest and most adaptable. The Zelthani were about to discover what happened when you threatened the home of the galaxy's most successful predators. The execution was broadcast across the galaxy at exactly noon, Earth time. War Commander Tekvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, watching as his soldiers forced Ambassador Richard Hayes and his diplomatic team to their knees. The humans were not begging or crying. They looked calm, almost peaceful, which annoyed Tekvar greatly. "Let this be a lesson to all species who think they can defy the Zelthani Empire," Tekvar announced to the cameras. "Humans refused our generous offer of servitude. Now they will learn the price of defiance." Richard Hayes looked directly into the camera before he died. His last words were simple. "We tried peace. We gave you every chance. Now you will learn why we became Earth's dominant species." The broadcast ended with the flash of energy weapons. Within minutes, the video was playing on every human communication network, every alien news service, and every diplomatic channel in the galaxy. President Helen Davis watched the execution from the White House Situation Room. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands were shaking with rage. Around the table, her advisors waited for her response. The room was completely silent except for the hum of computers. "Broadcast my response on all channels," Helen said quietly. Her voice was steady, but everyone in the room could hear the anger underneath. "Make sure every human on Earth and in space hears this message." The President of Earth appeared on screens around the world 5 minutes later. She wore a simple black dress and stood behind the podium with the flag of Earth behind her. When she spoke, her words would be remembered for the rest of human history. "My fellow humans, 30 minutes ago, we watched our diplomats die at the hands of the Zelthani Empire. We sent those brave people to try one last time for peace. The Zelthani answer was murder. We gave them every chance to choose cooperation over conquest. They chose blood." Helen paused, looking directly into the camera. "The galaxy is about to learn something that we have always known but rarely needed to prove. Humans prefer peace, but we are very, very good at war. We tried to be your friends, Zelthani. Now you will discover why nothing else on Earth could stop us from reaching the stars." The broadcast ended, and across the galaxy, alien species that had been watching the situation suddenly realized that something had changed. The humans were no longer talking about diplomacy or cooperation. They were talking like predators. War Commander Thekvar received the human response while his fleet was already traveling toward Earth space. He had 200 ships with him, more than enough to crush any resistance. The human message made him laugh. "Empty words from frightened mammals," he told his officers. "They think anger will make them stronger. They will learn that anger without power is useless." But as his fleet approached human territory, strange reports began reaching him. His scouts found human ships where there should have been none. His communications officers detected signals that made no sense. His intelligence teams reported unusual activity throughout human space. "War Commander," said his second in command, "the humans appear to have more ships than our previous estimates suggested. Our count was 47 human vessels. We are now detecting over 300. Thekvar was not worried. "Merchant ships and civilian transports. They are trying to look strong by showing us cargo vessels. It will not save them." The first real battle began at the human colony world of New Eden. It was a small farming planet with only 50,000 colonists, defended by what appeared to be a tiny garrison. Thekvar sent 50 ships to conquer it, expecting the battle to last a few hours. Colonel Jack Turner commanded the defense of New Eden. He was a quiet man with gray hair who had fought in wars on Earth before joining the Space Forces. When the E-Ainta Zelthani ships appeared in orbit, he was ready for them. "All civilian shelters are secure," reported his communications officer. "Colony defenses are online. Orbital platforms are armed and waiting." "Good," Jack said calmly. "Send the message to all Zelthani ships. Surrender now, or learn why humans survived the Ice Age." The Zelthani response was predictable. 50 warships began bombing the planet's surface, expecting to see cities burn and defenders flee. Instead, their weapons hit empty fields and abandoned buildings. The real colonial infrastructure was hidden underground, and the human defenders were not where the aliens expected them to be. Lieutenant Commander Sue Nelson led the first counterattack from her fighter squadron. Her small ships came out of the planet's shadow like hunting wolves, moving in patterns that confused Zelthani sensors. They did not attack head-on like honorable warriors. They struck from unexpected angles, hit weak points, and disappeared before the enemy could respond. "Zelthani shields are designed to stop big weapons," Sue told her pilots over the radio. "But they have trouble with many small attacks hitting different spots at the same time. Spread out and hit them with everything we have." The human fighters swarmed around the Zelthani ships like angry hornets. Their weapons were not as powerful as alien guns, but they were faster and more accurate. More importantly, the human pilots fought with a coordination that the Zelthani had never seen before. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Frank Mitchell was preparing his own surprise for the invasion force. Frank was a big man who had grown up hunting in Earth's forests. He understood camouflage, ambush tactics, and how to turn peaceful terrain into a killing ground. "Remember, people," he told his soldiers, "they think we're weak because we look soft. They think we'll line up and fight them fairly. Instead, we're going to show them how humans really fight when someone threatens our home." When the Zelthani soldiers landed, they found a colony that seemed deserted. Buildings were empty, streets were quiet, and there were no defenders to be seen. The alien warriors advanced confidently, expecting easy victory. That was when the humans struck. Every building had been turned into a fortress. Every street corner hid soldiers with weapons designed to punch through Zelthani armor. Every piece of familiar terrain became a trap. The Zelthani found themselves fighting an enemy they could not see, in a battle they did not understand. Human soldiers appeared from nowhere, fired their weapons, and disappeared before the aliens could respond. Roads exploded under heavy alien vehicles. Buildings collapsed on Zelthani squads. Even the local wildlife seemed to be working against them. Captain Eric Johnson commanded the human warship Vengeful Dawn, one of the new vessels built with Dr. Sandra Kim's advanced weapons. His ship was smaller than Zelthani vessels, but it carried technology that the aliens had never encountered. "Target their command ship," Eric ordered his weapons officer. "Let's show them what human engineering can do." The Vengeful Dawn's main gun fired a beam of energy that passed through Zelthani shields as if they were not there. The weapon used the aliens' own shield frequency against them, turning their protection into a weakness. The Zelthani command ship's armor cracked like an eggshell. "Impossible," Tekvar said, watching the battle from his flagship high above the planet. "Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields." His tactical officer's voice was shaking. "War Commander, we are receiving reports from all fronts. The humans are not fighting the way we expected. They are using tactics we have never seen before. Our forces are taking heavy casualties." On New Eden's surface, the battle that should have lasted hours had been going on for 3 days. The Zelthani had superior numbers and better individual weapons, but the humans fought like they were defending their own families. Every street was contested. Every building had to be cleared room by room. Every victory cost the aliens more than they could afford. "They fight like cornered animals," one Zelthani commander reported to Tekvar. "But they fight with intelligence and coordination. It is as if the entire planet is one organism, working together to destroy us." Dr. Caroline White was broadcasting from Earth's Emergency Command Center, her voice reaching across the galaxy. She was a scientist who had studied human behavior for decades, and now she was explaining her species to the universe. "The Zelthani made a critical mistake," she said to alien news services that were covering the battle. "They saw humans offering peace and assumed we were weak. They did not understand that we were being polite, not powerless. Every species has survival instincts, but humans survived by being smart, adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when necessary." The battle for New Eden lasted 2 weeks. When it ended, the Zelthani had lost 37 of their 50 ships and most of their ground forces. The humans had saved their colony and proven something that no one in the galaxy had expected. War Commander Tekvar stared at the reports in disbelief. How did soft mammals defeat Zelthani warriors? His intelligence officer, a younger Zelthani, named Kethal, looked nervous. "War Commander, I have been studying the human tactics. They do not fight for glory or conquest. They fight for survival, and they fight with their entire civilization working together. This is not like other species we have conquered." "You think these mammals are dangerous?" Tekvar growled. "Sir, I think we made them angry. And I think we do not understand what angry humans are capable of." Across the galaxy, other alien species were watching the news reports with growing concern. The mighty Zelthani Empire had been stopped by creatures they had dismissed as weak. If humans could do this to the Zelthani, what could they do to anyone else? News of the human victory at New Eden spread across the galaxy faster than light. In alien news centers, reporters struggled to explain how a small human colony had defeated a Zelthani war fleet. On trading stations and diplomatic worlds, species that had feared the Zelthani Empire for centuries suddenly began asking new questions. Admiral Patricia Stone stood in the command center of Earth's largest space station, watching reports flow in from across human space. The victory at New Eden was just the beginning. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they stopped being polite. Operation Broken Chain is ready to begin, General Tony Martinez reported from his station. All fleet commanders are in position. Ground forces are prepared. Intelligence teams have confirmed target locations. Patricia nodded. Send the signal. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Across human space, 1,000 ships began moving at once. They were not all warships. Many were cargo vessels, exploration ships, and civilian transports that had been quickly armed with new weapons. But they all moved with the same purpose, like parts of a single giant organism. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra's Wrath, leading a fleet of 50 ships toward the Zelthani industrial world of Korthax. The planet produced weapons and armor for the alien empire, and its factories had been running for 300 years without interruption. Remember, people, Jake told his fleet commanders over the communication system, we're not here to kill civilians. We're here to destroy their ability to make war. Hit the military targets, spare the innocent, and show them that humans can be both ruthless and merciful. Captain Ryan Brooks, commanding the Defiant Star, responded from his ship. Understood, Admiral. My teams are ready for precision strikes. The Zelthani won't be building weapons on Korthax after today. Meanwhile, Captain Linda Gray was leading a different kind of mission. Her ship, the Silent Hunter, was one of the new stealth vessels that could move through space without being detected. She was approaching the Zelthani supply depot at Nexus, stationed with 5 other invisible ships. Zelthani logistics are impressive but predictable, Linda told her crew. They move supplies along the same routes they've used for centuries. They never adapted because no one ever challenged them before. Today that changes. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Mike Foster, checked his instruments. All targets confirmed, Captain. Their supply ships are carrying enough ammunition and food to support the war for 6 months. If we destroy this convoy, their frontline forces will start running out of supplies within weeks. Do it, Linda ordered. The stealth ships attacked without warning. Zelthani supply vessels exploded in silent flashes of light, their cargo scattered into space. Within minutes, months of careful preparation and stockpiling were gone. The aliens didn't even know what had hit them. On the planet Vorkath, Captain Carl Adams was leading a very different kind of assault. Carl was a big man with scars on his face from old battles, and he commanded troops who specialized in direct combat. The Zelthani had a major military base on Vorkath, and Carl's job was to destroy it completely. The base is heavily defended, Carl told his soldiers as their ships approached the planet. But the Zelthani still think we'll attack the way other species do. They expect us to land far away and march toward their walls. Instead, we're going to land right on top of them. The human assault ships dropped through the planet's atmosphere like falling meteors. Instead of landing in safe areas and advancing, slowly, they crashed directly into the Zelthani base's courtyard. Human soldiers poured out of their ships before the aliens could react, bringing the battle to close quarters where human adaptability gave them the advantage. But perhaps the most important battle was happening in a place where no one could see. Forson, Commander Julie Parker sat in a small room deep inside a human space station, her fingers dancing across computer keyboards. She was leading humanity's cyber warfare division, and she was fighting a war in the digital networks that connected Zelthani civilization. Their computer systems are powerful but simple, Julie explained to her team of hackers and programmers. They've never had to worry about electronic attacks because no other species developed this kind of technology. Their firewalls are like castle walls built to stop swords and arrows, not modern weapons. Her assistant, Dr. Alex Brown, looked up from his workstation. I'm inside their communication network now. I can see all their military orders, troop movements, and supply requests. It's like reading their diary. Good. Now let's write some new entries for them. Julie's team began sending false orders to Zelthani military units. Supply ships were redirected to empty space. Reinforcements were sent to planets where no battles were happening. Military commanders received contradictory instructions that confused their entire chain of command. The cyber attacks were invisible, but devastating. Zelthani forces that should have been coordinating their defenses instead began working against each other. Ships arrived at wrong locations. Supplies went to units that didn't need them. Messages became garbled or disappeared entirely. War Commander Thekvar watched his empire's military machine falling apart from his flagship. Reports flooded in from every front, and all of them were bad. Human forces were attacking dozens of targets simultaneously, using tactics that made no sense according to traditional military thinking. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his intelligence officers. "They have fewer ships than us. Their technology is inferior. How are they winning?" Sub-Commander Kethal, who had been studying human behavior since the defeat at New Eden, stepped forward nervously. "War Commander, I believe we fundamentally misunderstood what we were fighting. Humans do not wage war the way other species do." "Explain." "Other species fight for territory or resources or glory. Humans fight for survival. When they believe their existence is threatened, they use every advantage they have. They fight with their entire civilization, not just their military." Thekvar's yellow eyes narrowed. "You think these mammals are more dangerous than Zelthani warriors?" "Sir, I think they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and we made them angry." The truth of Kethal's words became clear over the following weeks. Human forces struck everywhere at once, but never the way their enemies expected. Dr. Angela Moore, leading human intelligence operations, had spent months studying every aspect of Zelthani society. She knew their culture, their psychology, their fears and their weaknesses better than they knew themselves. The Zelthani built their empire on fear and overwhelming force, Angela explained to a gathering of human military commanders. "They've never faced an enemy that could match their strength, so they never learned to adapt. We're not matching their strength. We're making their strength irrelevant." Captain Maria Santos was proving that point in the asteroid fields near Xanthos Prime. Her ship, the Iron Wolf, led a squadron of fast attack vessels that struck Zelthani mining operations like lightning. They would appear from behind asteroids, destroy their targets, and vanish before enemy reinforcements could arrive. "The Zelthani expect battles to be formal affairs with clear battle lines," Maria told her crew. "They line up their ships, fire their weapons, and expect their enemies to do the same. But humans learned long ago that the only fair fight is the one you lose." Her ships moved through the asteroid field like sharks hunting in a coral reef. They knew every rock, every hiding place, every escape route. When Zelthani warships came looking for them, they found empty space and floating wreckage. The psychological impact was as important as the physical damage. For 1,000 years, the Zelthani Empire had been the unquestioned masters of their region of space. Now they were being outfought, outthought, and outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as weak. Dr. Caroline White continued her broadcasts to the galaxy, explaining what was happening to alien news services. "Humans are not fighting for conquest or glory," she said. "We are fighting for our right to exist. That makes us far more dangerous than any empire that fights for profit or territory." The galactic community was beginning to understand. The Karathi sent secret messages to Earth, offering to share intelligence about Zelthani movements. The Vex Collective updated their probability calculations and concluded that human victory was now more likely than Zelthani success. Even more importantly, species that had been conquered by the Zelthani were beginning to rebel. On 43 worlds, enslaved aliens saw humans defeating their oppressors and decided that freedom might be possible after all. Chief Engineer Mary Foster led demolition teams that destroyed Zelthani weapons factories with surgical precision. Her explosives were placed so carefully that military targets were completely destroyed, while nearby civilian areas remained untouched. "We're not here to hurt innocent people," Mary told her teams. "We're here to stop the Zelthani war machine. There's a difference, and it's important that the galaxy sees that difference." As the weeks passed, the Zelthani Empire began to collapse from within. Their military was scattered and confused. Their supply lines were broken. Their communication networks were compromised. Their subject species were in open revolt. War Commander Thekvar finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. He had awakened something that the galaxy had never seen before. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a simple message sent across all communication channels in the galaxy. It came from the bridge of the human flagship Humanity's Answer. where Admiral Jake Morrison sat across from War Commander Thekvar. The once proud Zelthani leader looked older and smaller than he had 6 months earlier, his yellow eyes dim with defeat. I, War Commander Thekvar of the Zelthani Empire, formally surrender all military forces under my command to the human fleet, the alien said slowly. Each word seemed to cause him physical pain. We acknowledge that we have been defeated by a superior enemy. Jake Morrison did not smile or celebrate. He looked at the broken alien commander with something that might have been sympathy. War Commander, we never wanted to be your enemy. We offered you friendship and you chose violence. Now the galaxy has seen what happens when you make humans fight for their survival. Around them, the bridge of the humanity's answer was busy, but quiet. Human. Officers monitored communications from across the galaxy, where the remnants of the Zelthani war machine were laying down their weapons. After 1,000 years of conquest, the empire that had ruled through fear was finally finished. President Helen Davis stood before the cameras in the White House, preparing to address not just humanity, but every intelligent species in the galaxy. Behind her, the flag of Earth hung next to a new banner showing the symbol of the Terran Federation. Her speech would reshape galactic politics forever. 6 months ago, the Zelthani Empire gave humanity a choice, she began, her voice calm and strong. Submit to slavery or face destruction. They believed we were weak because we came to them in peace. They murdered our diplomats when we tried to find a better way. Today they learned what humans are really like when someone threatens our home. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But we are not conquerors. We did not fight this war to build an empire of our own. We fought to protect our right to exist and to free the species that the Zelthani had enslaved. Today, we announce the formation of the Terran Federation, open to any species that believes in cooperation, respect, and the right of all intelligent life to determine its own future. Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. The 43 species that had been enslaved by the Zelthani sent representatives to Earth within days. They had watched humans destroy their oppressors while carefully protecting civilian populations, and they wanted to join this new alliance. Dr. Kevin Walsh, now head of the Galactic Relations Institute, worked day and night to establish diplomatic relations with dozens of species. His office had become the busiest place on Earth, with alien ambassadors arriving hourly to discuss membership in the Federation. The interesting thing, Kevin told his assistant during a brief break, is that most of these species were never actually weak. The Zelthani just convinced them they were. Humans showed them that it was possible to fight back and win. One of the most surprising visitors was Sub-Commander Keithal, the young Zelthani officer who had tried to warn his superiors about human capabilities. He came to Earth not as a conqueror, but as a refugee seeking asylum. My people will need generations to understand what they did wrong, he told Ambassador Lisa Grant during their meeting. But some of us want to learn from humans how to build instead of destroy. Will you teach us? Lisa studied the alien carefully. Kethel was smaller than most Zelthani, with scars on his armor that showed he had fought in the war. But his eyes held genuine regret, not the arrogance she had seen in other members of his species. The Federation is open to any species that renounces conquest and embraces cooperation, she said finally. Even former enemies if they prove they have truly changed. You will have to earn trust, but humans believe in second chances. The establishment of the Galactic Council took place on the neutral world of Harmony Station, a massive space structure built jointly by humans and their new allies. Representatives from over 60 species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, with humans holding a permanent seat alongside the ancient Karathi, the Logical Vex Collective, and other major civilizations. Captain Maria Santos, now commanding the peacekeeping vessel New Dawn, patrolled the former Zelthani territory to ensure the transition to freedom went smoothly. Her ship carried not weapons of war, but medical supplies, engineering teams, and teachers who helped former slave worlds rebuild their societies. It's strange, she told her crew during one of their missions. 6 months ago, we were preparing to fight for our lives. Now we're helping build hospitals and schools on worlds we've never seen before. I think I prefer this kind of mission. The galaxy had learned several important lessons from the human victory. The first was that technological superiority meant nothing without tactical intelligence. The second was that a species fighting for survival was far more dangerous than one fighting for conquest. But the most important lesson was that humans kept their word. Dr. Caroline White, now director of the Federation Science Council, published a report that became required reading in military academies throughout the galaxy. The Human Conflict Response Pattern explained how humans preferred peace but became exponentially more dangerous when threatened. Humans gave the Zelthani every opportunity to choose cooperation, she wrote. They offered trade, knowledge sharing, and mutual benefit. Only when faced with slavery or extinction did they resort to violence. This pattern suggests that humans can be trusted as allies, but should never be underestimated as enemies. The former Zelthani Empire was transformed into dozens of independent worlds, each free to choose its own government and way of life. Some joined the Terran Federation immediately. Others remained neutral but friendly. A few Zelthani worlds chose isolation, needing time to overcome 1,000 years of military culture. War Commander Thekvar himself was given a choice. He could face trial for war crimes, or he could spend his remaining years working to undo the damage his empire had caused. Surprisingly, he chose the second option. I spent my life believing that strength meant the ability to destroy, he said during his first public appearance after the surrender. Humans taught me that true strength is the ability to protect and build. I want to learn how to be strong the way humans are strong. Admiral Patricia Stone established the Federation Defense Force, with ships and crews from multiple species working together. The fleet's primary mission was not conquest but protection, defending smaller worlds from pirates, natural disasters, and other threats. Captain Ryan Brooks commanded one of the new integrated ships, with a crew that included humans, former Zelthani, slaves, Karathi engineers, and Vex navigators. It's amazing how well different species can work together when they're not trying to conquer each other, he observed during a training exercise. The economic transformation was just as dramatic as the political changes. Chief Engineer Ben Clark led teams that shared human technology with Federation members while learning new techniques from alien species. The combination of human adaptability with alien knowledge created innovations that benefited everyone. Humans are good at making things work, Ben explained to a gathering of alien engineers. But other species have ideas we never thought of. When we combine human engineering with Karathi material science and Vex computational power, we can build things that none of us could create alone. General Tony Martinez established the Federation Military Academy, where officers from different species learn to work together. The curriculum focused on protection rather than conquest, with humans teaching their unique approaches to strategy and tactics. The human way of war is not about destroying enemies, Tony told his students. It's about ending conflicts as quickly as possible with minimal loss of life on all sides. We fight to protect, not to conquer. 5 years after the war ended, President Helen Davis stood once again before the cameras. But this time, she was speaking from the bridge of the Federation flagship Unity, with representatives from 100 species standing behind her. When the Zelthani Empire threatened humanity, they believed they were facing weak creatures who would surrender or die quickly. Instead, they awakened a sleeping predator that had spent millions of years learning to survive on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. But humans are not just predators. We are also teachers, healers, and builders. She gestured to the diverse group of beings around her. Today, the galaxy is safer and more prosperous than it has been in 1,000 years. Former enemies work together as friends. Enslaved species are free to choose their own destinies. And the warning that the Zelthani ignored has become a promise that the Federation keeps. Don't make us angry, but if you need our help, we will be there. The broadcast ended with images of Federation ships delivering supplies to disaster areas, human doctors working in alien hospitals, and children from dozens of species playing together in schools throughout the galaxy. War Commander Thekvar, now working as a counselor helping other former conquerors adapt to peaceful life, watched the broadcast from his office on Harmony Station. Beside him sat Dr. Angela Moore, who had become his friend and teacher during his rehabilitation. "Gandu, you regret what happened?" Angela asked. Thekvar was quiet for a long moment. "I regret the war and the death it caused, but I do not regret that it happened.